It's 2 p.m. Your newborn finally fell asleep in your arms 20 minutes ago. You tiptoe to the bassinet, hold your breath, and lower them down. So slowly, so carefully. And then their eyes snap open. They're wide awake again. You feel a familiar knot in your stomach. You think, why won't they just sleep? What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. But here's what most parents don't realize. That moment, that cycle of holding, transferring, and waking isn't a failure. It's a signal from your baby's developing brain. And the way you respond to it can either build a foundation for healthy sleep or accidentally reinforce a pattern that leaves you both exhausted. This isn't about blame. It's about understanding. In this video, we're breaking down exactly why your newborn resists daytime sleep and the single shift you can make today to change it. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll finally know what your baby is really asking for when they refuse to close their eyes. So let's start with the first reason your newborn fights daytime sleep. And this one surprises most parents. Your baby's brain does not yet know what day is. You know that feeling when you travel across time zones and your body has no idea if it's breakfast or bedtime. That's your newborn, every single day for the first few months. Their internal clock, what scientists call the circadian rhythm, hasn't switched on yet. It doesn't fully develop until around 3 or 4 months. So when you try to put your baby down for a nap at 1 p.m., their brain doesn't register afternoon rest. It just registers unfamiliar surface, sudden stillness, alone. And that feels unsafe. Picture this. You're holding your baby. They're warm. They can hear your heartbeat. They feel your breathing rise and fall. That's familiar. That's home. But the moment you lower them into a flat, cool, motionless bassinet, their nervous system says, wait, where did the safety go? And they wake up. Not because they're stubborn, because their brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. Protect them from being alone. This is where the guilt creeps in. You think, I should have kept holding them. But here's the relief. Your baby isn't rejecting sleep. Their brain just doesn't recognize the conditions for sleep yet, and that's completely normal. The key insight here is something called predictive patterns. Your baby's brain is constantly scanning for what comes next. If every time they fall asleep, they wake up alone in a cold space, their brain learns. Falling asleep means losing connection, so they fight it. They resist. Not because they're difficult, because they're smart. But here's what you can do. Start building small, consistent cues that signal sleep is safe. A white noise machine that stays on for the whole nap. A specific swaddle that feels like your arms. A dim room that doesn't change between holding and transferring. Your baby doesn't need perfect conditions. They need predictable ones. And that brings us to the second reason your newborn won't sleep during the day. It's not about the room, it's about the timing. Most parents wait for the obvious sleepy signs. Yawning, rubbing eyes, fussiness. But by that point, your baby is already overtired. And an overtired newborn does not sleep easily. They fight it. Their body produces stress hormones like cortisol to keep them awake, even though every cell is screaming for rest. You've seen this happen, I'm sure. Your baby was alert and happy. Then suddenly they're crying, arching their back, refusing the breast or bottle. You think maybe they're hungry, but they're not. They're exhausted, and you miss the window. This is called the sleep window. It's a short period. Usually about 45 to 60 minutes after waking for a newborn, when their brain is still calm enough to transition into sleep. If you miss it, their system floods with cortisol, and suddenly sleep feels like a threat instead of a relief. So what does this look like in real life? Your baby wakes up from a feed. They're calm. Their eyes are soft. This is the moment. If you wait until they're crying, you've already lost the window. And then you spend the next hour trying to soothe an exhausted baby who can't settle. The pattern interrupt here is simple. Watch for quiet alertness, not tiredness. When your baby is awake but still, when their gaze is soft but not glazed, when they're not demanding anything, that's your cue. That's the beginning of the window. And if you act then, sleep becomes easier. Now here's the third reason, and this one is often misunderstood. Your newborn may be sleeping too much at night. You might think, wait, isn't that the goal? Yes, eventually. But in the early weeks, your baby's brain doesn't separate day from night. They sleep in short bursts around the clock. If they're sleeping long stretches at night, say 4 or 5 hours, they may not have enough sleep pressure left for daytime naps. Sleep pressure is the biological drive to sleep. It builds the longer you're awake. For a newborn, that pressure builds quickly. in about 45 minutes to an hour. But if they sleep deeply at night, that pressure resets. And then during the day, they're simply not tired enough to stay asleep. So you end up with a baby who sleeps beautifully from midnight to 5 a.m., but fights every single daytime nap. You think you're doing something wrong during the day, but really, the pattern started the night before. This doesn't mean you should wake your baby at night. It means you need to look at the full 24-hour picture. If your baby is getting most of their sleep at night, their daytime sleep will naturally be lighter and shorter. That's not a problem to fix. It's a pattern to understand. And that brings us to the fourth reason, which is the most counterintuitive of all. Your baby may be fighting sleep because they need you to help them stay asleep. This is the part that makes parents feel trapped. You think, if I hold them for every nap, I'll never get anything done. And that's a real concern. But here's what the research on infant sleep actually shows. In the first few months, contact naps are not a bad habit. They are a biological need. Your newborn's nervous system is immature. They cannot regulate their own body temperature, heart rate, or breathing the way you can. When they sleep on you, your body does that regulation for them. Your heartbeat, your warmth, your breathing, it literally calms their system and keeps them in a deeper sleep. When they sleep alone, their system has to do all that work itself, and sometimes it can't. So they wake, not because they're spoiled, because their brain isn't ready. This is where the guilt hits hardest. You hear the advice, don't let your baby get used to being held. You'll create a sleep crutch. But that advice was never meant for newborns. In the first 3 months, you cannot spoil a baby. You can only meet their needs. The science here is called co-regulation. Your baby's nervous system borrows stability from yours. When you hold them, you are literally lending them your calm. Over time, as their brain matures, they learn to self-regulate. But that learning happens because you co-regulated first, not because you withheld it. So what do you do with this information? You stop fighting your baby's biology. You accept that daytime sleep in the early weeks is messy, short, and often in your arms. And you start building small, consistent cues that tell your baby's brain, this is safe. You can rest here. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to understand the pattern. And now you do. Here's the secret key that changes everything. Your newborn isn't refusing sleep. They're asking for the conditions that make sleep possible. And once you stop fighting that request, the exhaustion starts to lift. Not because your baby changes overnight, but because you stop blaming yourself for something that was never your fault. You're not a bad parent for doing this. You were responding with the tools you had. Every time you held your baby, soothed them, tried again. You were showing up. That matters. And now that you understand the pattern, you can gently shift it without fighting your baby's biology. Here are 4 micro actions. One for each reason we just covered. First, for the circadian rhythm gap. Create a daytime sleep container that doesn't change. Pick one sound, a white noise machine set to the same volume, and one visual cue, like a specific dimness level. Use them for every single nap. Your baby's brain doesn't know what afternoon means, but it can learn that this sound plus this darkness equals safe sleep. This doesn't mean you need blackout curtains and a studio-quality machine. It means consistency. One signal, repeated, so their brain starts to predict, oh, this is rest time. Second, for the missed sleep window, stop waiting for tired signs. Instead, watch for quiet alertness. After your baby wakes from a feed, notice when their eyes soften and their movements slow. That's your cue. Within 10 minutes of that moment, begin your nap routine. Swaddle, sound, rock. You don't need to wait until they yawn. You need to act before they reach that point. If you miss it, don't panic. Just wait for the next window, like 45 minutes later. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you start paying attention a little earlier than you used to. Third, for the night sleep imbalance, look at the full 24-hour picture. If your baby is sleeping long stretches at night, their daytime naps will naturally be shorter. That's not a problem to solve. It's a pattern to accept. You can gently shift the balance by offering one extra feed during the night, or by waking your baby slightly earlier from a long night stretch, but only if it feels right for you. This doesn't mean you should disrupt your baby's night's sleep. It means you stop expecting deep daytime naps when your baby's sleep pressure is already spent. Fourth, for the co-regulation need, give yourself permission to hold one nap a day. Just one. Pick the nap that feels most stressful. Usually the one where you need a break. And instead of fighting it, lean into it. Wear your baby in a carrier. Sit on the couch with a cup of tea and a podcast. Let them sleep on your chest for that one nap. This doesn't mean you're creating a bad habit. It means you're meeting a biological need. And over time, as your baby's nervous system matures, they'll need that less. But right now, they need it more. You are not failing your baby. You are learning how to read them.